Check out nessp.info for direct links and deals on the site Bet Us for 125% off your first three deposits in NFL and college odds for upcoming games, Major League Baseball and NBA futures and boxing wagers. Also, check out Fanatics sportswear for your favorite teams, and also network merchandise, retro, Northeast Streaming Sports, National Streaming Sports, Big Football, and the Mac and Jack Sports Show t-shirts. Coffee mugs are coming soon. Check it out.
I mean, you can see right now. Without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guys, any...
Yes, sir. Let's do it. So it's hump day out there, folks. Welcome to the Nationals Professional Sports Show. And, of course, I'm your host, Mac, and we got the panel up here with James A. Train, or K. Train, or J. Train, or, you know, he's on the train anyway. I know that for a fact. We also have Sonia Pearson, our lady in sports, is joining us tonight, and the one and only Bo Crouch. So welcome, everybody, to the show. I'm glad you all made it for the show tonight. And before we start, and we've got a lot of things to talk about today, I'll give you a quick update. The Tigers have beat the Houston Astros 5-2. Houston is out of here. Thank you very much. Kick them out. Detroit is moving on. I think they play Cleveland. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that everybody can look it up and check it out. But I know they're going to the second round, best 3 out of 5. I know that for a fact. How you doing, West Coast? Wen, glad to have you in today, and everybody else that will be joining us as we go along. So everybody has a feeling about Pete Rose, right? Pete Rose, of course, lifetime ban. He has now passed away, so that lifetime ban should be over. But a lot of people do not like the person Pete Rose. There's a lot of different things that he did. He continually lied about not gambling. There's some talk about him and maybe a underaged child that about 16 years old that he might have had or had sex with. I mean, these are all off-field issues. Should that affect? I'll start that with you, James. Should that affect whether or not he goes into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, I don't know how much credence is there for the underage child thing, but that's some serious allegation. Outside of that, you know, because again, that's something alleged, nothing that he was convicted for or anything like that. Outside of that, I'll be honest with you. I think it's a bit of a travesty to allow a man 83 years old to pass and not even at least to have a discussion about whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's the all-time hittingest player of all time. That's just devastating. It's not like he used steroids. Yes, don't get me wrong. Gambling on baseball is a serious issue. He never admitted to it, or you know, I don't know how true that is or not, whether or not he admitted to it or not. But man, his flowers at some point are going to be put on his grave. They're not going to be given to him in his hand. So I just think that's a sad thing, regardless of whether or not he just admitted to it or not. It's sad that he won't be put in the Hall of Fame with him knowing it before he left this earth.
Well, Bo, there's not only he admitted, a book was written about it, He admitted it on the interview. He also tried to sue the family of the girl, and it came out that he actually admitted that he did wait, of course, till she was 16 years old to have sex with her. I mean, I don't know if there are a lot of Hall of Famers that have done a lot of bad things during their lives, right? And they're in the Hall of Fame. Do we change the standards for Pete Rose? Do we say, well, since you're a bad guy, we're not going to let you in? Or do we go off base what he did on the field, which is miraculous?
No, I mean, so I don't know if it'll happen during this commissioner's stay. It might happen in the next one. That being said, the problem he ran into is all those things came to light before he got in. There's guys that are in the Hall of Fame that stuff came out after they were inducted and they didn't pull them back out. But had they known beforehand, they may not have got in. The gambling, obviously I don't know about some of the other stuff, but as far as the gambling, that's a hard no on all the leagues. So for him to have not got in while he was alive is not a shock, right? None of the leagues play with that. They don't think it's funny at all. Will he get in after the fact? He might. It won't be this year for sure. Like it'll probably still take some time, take some lobbying to get that to happen. But, realistically, it might happen in the next commissioner coming in to like get some fanfare as they enter. But then it also opens the door to some of the other guys that have had lifetime bans because of steroids, stuff like that. So, they do have to tread lightly on what it is they want to accept there. Now, career-wise, don't get me wrong, he deserves to be in. Yeah, career-wise, he deserves to be in.
Right. So there was actually an investigation done that showed that he might have bet $10,000 a game for about, I don't know, 20-something games or 40-something games, something ridiculous. He had a gambling problem. There's no doubt about it. If he had just come clean then and said, listen, I have a gambling problem. I'm going to go get some help. Maybe I start talking to people about gambling, not to gamble. I think he would have got in because there was a commissioner that was trying hard as he could to forgive Pete Rose, but he didn't let him do it by saying, I didn't gamble.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that comes down to honesty really is the best policy, because let's be honest, in every aspect of life, once somebody at least admits that they're done something, we kind of have it like, okay, that was foul, you did that, but at some point we'll move forward, as long as no one's life was taken, we feel like we can still make some type of amends to the person or the establishment. I think that the fact that he lied about it, I think that, like I've always said, we've had this discussion before when Pete was very much still alive back in the spring. I know that James and UMAC were definitely on the platform. We talked about Hall of Famers and stuff like that, not knowing that Pete would actually pass this year is so crazy. But I mean, I feel like betting is so glamorized that who are we to tell sports figures that they can't bet? Like, as long as they're not betting on their specific games or their specific, groups of opponents, I just feel like that standard is going to be lowered in the future pretty soon. Kind of like what Bo and James said about the next commissioner. On his stats alone, the gambling situation will probably be, like, okay, it happened, it's over with. Just like Bo said, there's plenty of people in the Hall of Fame in every sport that stuff comes out about them after the fact. What I really have a problem with, though, not me specifically, but just the era we're living in, this Me Too movement is huge. I mean, we see songstress, R. Kelly serving time for what he did. We see the scandal with Puffy right now. And when you're talking about underage children, because even though this young lady was 16, she was still very much underage. She still was not at the age of consent in most states. I don't know about every state, but I know most states. And so to that end, and then the fact that he tried to sue her family and then came out later and said, oh yeah, I did it. I think if anything stops him from getting in, that would be the one thing that stops him from getting in, because that movement is so progressive right now as far as victims. Like, you got Like, look at how they took Bill Cosby down. Like, stuff from 20 years ago, they never forget it. And so, unfortunately, that may be the one thing that keeps him out. Gambling aside, like, we can get past that. It's what happened with this underage minor.
Yeah, and 16 in Ohio is consensual age. No charges were ever filed against him. I think down in some states is 13, Sonia. So don't be surprised. It varies from state to state. I think it does vary from state to state. But anyway, I want to get your guys' real quick thoughts on that, because everybody's been talking about it. It's really a shame, because if he did maybe come clean early, it's the cover up, right? If he came out early and said, yeah, I did this, and tried to fix it, maybe he would have got in, and then whatever. But anyway, Pete Rose definitely.
He always kind of doubles down on being a jerk, though, because like even when Ohtani was under investigation, he comes out into the public like, oh, I should have had an interpreter. Like he consistently went out of his way to try and guarantee he would never get in.
Yeah,
that's what they just talk about it. Ohtani situation is what brought it back up, and it was kind of like there was an obstinance about him, like almost like, yeah, I know I'm Hall of Fame if y'all never say it. And what I did, I'm really not remorseful for. Like I said, if you do something and you show some type of humility, or like, hey, I made a mistake, everybody's more prone to forgive you than you saying, oh, you know what, take this in your face. I'm going to keep doing what I do, and you better put me in.
Yeah, he almost went into it with the, I should have bet more.
I mean, I'm going to say some of these great players, their attitudes are not going to be what you like. There's a saying, don't ever go to Hollywood and meet your idol, because you're going to be disappointed. It's just a matter of some of these people, that's just their personality, and you can't change people, but it doesn't take away from who they were on the field. If they had greatness on the field, sometimes you have to separate the artist from the music, separate the player from the behavior outside, because you're going to be disappointed with these people are human beings. And he was not contrite about anything in regards to what he did, but he still was a bomb ass player on the field. It's hard to argue that, and I think he should have been rewarded for that.
It's funny though, because to your point there, guys like Gary Sheffield, who isn't going to get in, is mostly not there because he was a jerk. Because on the field, dude was a stud every day of his career. Yes. But he just missed his final bid to be in. Now they may get him in for the, out of the window kind of special selection, but he made it all the way through it, not because he didn't deserve it. I mean, his stats are awesome, but he's a jerk, and that's enough to not get in.
Yeah, that will be up to the old folks home to vote him in or not down the road for sure. So, I'm going to say something a little controversial, and I want to preface this by saying, if you want stardom, if you want to be on TV, if you want to do commercials, if you want to be on the press, the stage of the press every day after a game, you're going to get certain people in the country, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, in the stands, that are going to say naughty things about you. And you can't have it both ways, WNBA players. You can't get all this popularity, you can't get all this money, and then all of a sudden, just because you're a WNBA player, they're going to pull back. That's not how it works. It's that way for politicians. It's that way for movie stars. It's that way for singers. It's that way for stars in the industry of sports. That's the way it is. So stop complaining about it. Put on your big girl pants and keep going. Enjoy the money you're making. Enjoy the fame you're getting. And stop whining about the bad things that are going to be said about you. That's just the way it is. Anybody have anything different that they would say about this? Should we tame what we say because they're in the WNBA?
No. They're making enough money to take care of it with a counselor if they can't handle it.
Right. Besides, you want the haters. Bring the hate. You know why? Because they're always watching. They help get you paid.
Always.
Your friends and family will watch as often as they can, right? To try and support you. Your haters will not miss a show. So just embrace the hate.
Yes. Yes. I don't want to see you crying. I don't want to see you crying and wiping your tears and having emotional breakdowns because you won or you lost. I don't care. Go out there, play the game like you're supposed to, and enjoy the money, doing what you wanted to do when you were growing up, right? Enjoy that. So I had to get that off my chest before we went any farther. The Caitlin Clark effect. 1.8 million every Indiana Fever game, not 1 million viewers during the playoffs. I even read somewhere where she was giving money away to some of the players in certain spots because spot something or other, but she was actually giving money to some of the players that were in the league because something happened there. I mean, look it up later. It was just something I saw really quick before I came on. You can't deny her effect. Stop fighting with the girl. And again, enjoy that, people are watching your playoffs. I mean, maybe not as much as Caitlin Clark when she's playing, but it has ticked up a little bit. 645,000, I think, for Lynx game, 989,000 for the New York Liberty versus the Aces. And I guess what? They did not kick out Spike Lee when he was giving one of the Las Vegas Aces a hard time. Believe it or not, he didn't get kicked out like me or you would have if we said something to him. So that's just something I thought I'd throw in there. Any disagreements about that? Why are we kicking the person that's making you a little bit more money? I don't get that.
I mean, I disagree with how many more zeros his bank account has than mine, but
endless zeros.
Right?
Anybody else got anything to say about that, or is that pretty much your feelings too? I mean, come on.
I think Caitlin is going to look more like heroic, especially, she came into the league, and I'm just going to say, as a female sports, connoisseur, I was just not too big on her. I felt like her attitude was kind of cocky, things like that. But I mean, hey, they showed clips of her as a kid. Like, this is what she's wanted to do since she was like a teen, like before she was even a teen. They showed her like 6-7 years old already, like, I'm going to be in the NBA, I'm a WNBA or whatever it was she was saying, like playing basketball. And so she's there, and she's caught a lot of slack because she does kind of come off with a bad attitude, but it does soften, her to know that she's, at the end of the day, realizing a lot of her teammates are not getting the money she's getting because of her endorsements and because she's literally her own name now. And I think the Caitlin Clark effect is a real thing. And I think that it's what has sparked the WNBA and will do so for years to come. And there'll be more Caitlin Clarks, behind her that will, she will proceed. And so I think it's a good thing. She's kind of grown on me a little bit. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I'm going to say, she's more tolerable knowing that she's doing these things and she is a team player.
I mean, how many first overall picks in any sport isn't pretty cocky though, right? Like, you got the Johnny football money, and
I have one, but we won't say his name. You know who he is. He's not cocky at all.
They're outliers.
He hasn't won enough.
Yes. Sonia brought something up to my attention. It's time to play. You be the GM, okay? You're the GM. Maybe you have to go to conference with the owner. Of course, we know that Davante Adams has wanted to be traded pretty much since Derek Carr has left the Raiders, right? He's not been a really happy camper out there. They say they're taking calls now on the trade, on people that want to trade for him. Now, there are a few teams that are interested. Of course, the Jets are interested in to a point because of Aaron Rodgers, maybe the Commanders, maybe a couple other teams. But there's one team that really needs a good receiver, and they're in the same division. It's Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, with the way they are structured, could afford Davante Adams. And they also could probably, since they want him so bad, may give you the best deal. They may say, here's a number one. I don't want to even do this because I'll kind of poison the water. But say they offer you the best deal. There's no way the Raiders are going to Super Bowl. They're probably not going to playoffs this year. Do you trade within your division to make yourself better if it makes your rival better? We'll start with you, Sonia.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave me the platform here because we did talk about this offline. I was like, I cannot wait to get on here and freaking berate him. I don't like Davante Adams, okay? I think that he thought he was going to be, the savior of the Raiders after Aaron Rodgers left. They gave him this big spiel. I think it was him and Derek Carr that was in some lake incident when they were in college. So they're like bros and, all this stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you. He doesn't need to go to New Orleans to be with Derek Carr, okay? They got enough people. They don't need nobody else. And he definitely doesn't need to go out there with Gonzo. I meant Patrick Mahomes. I'm sick of them. They don't need any more help. I know it's going to come down to the money, and probably before midnight, we'll know that one of those two teams has picked him up. He was rumored to have been linked with Aaron Rodgers last year, but I guess the Jets are not JETSing enough for him to go up there anymore. So it's I don't know. It's just thick. The Raiders are not winning. So that's why you're basically bailing out, because you're not getting the wins. Once the Panthers beat you, you've been beat. And I guess that's what really, threw him down a spiral of just downwardness, and he just couldn't come back from it. And so I'm going to tell you this, and then I'll let you move to the next person. If Davante Adams leaves the Raiders, I mean, you've already said they're not going to the playoffs anyway. They've probably got like a snowball's chance in hell to even, make a double number wins. But if Davante Adams leaves the Raiders, the locker room is absolutely gone, and look for Suge Knight Jr. to be moved up out of there next year.
Do you? Hey, let me get some comments in here first. Robert, I can see your point, but if they get the best deal, I don't know. I mean, listen, Adams pretty much said, listen, it doesn't matter what he says. It's up to the Raiders whether they trade him or not. It's not up to him. Sean, you're not sure he wants him. He is elite, but what will it cost? It depends what they want for him. I mean, he's got a big contract right now. He's making a lot of money. So they're going to have to pick up his contract, but they're going to have to give the Raiders what the best deal they can get. So, Bo, this is what I'm asking you as a Raiders, as a GM. I mean, it's your division rival, right? So 2 years from now or a year from now, you may end up playing them for the playoffs. But yet you might be able to get a nice boatload for this guy. And not only that, but you may be able to improve your team for next year. Maybe you get your quarterback next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to really look at what other packages there are, but there is a 0 chance you're giving him to KC. The Chargers, maybe. You might entertain that, but you wouldn't do it to KC. They've ran this division. The last thing you want to do is help them be stronger. So I think KC is a non-factor there. If you were going to do it in your division, Chargers might be able to make a play at it. But if you're the Raiders and you're routinely the odd man out of this division, the last thing you want to do is let any of those people get up there. I love Steve-O's comment here. Suge Knight taking straight. I don't feel bad for Suge Knight. That dude was not a good dude. But, do I think the Jets make a play? Sure. Do I think the Saints make a play? Absolutely. They could both use him. The one that could be real interesting because they have space, the Vikings could actually make a play for him.
Yes.
And talk about a ridiculous receiving core. If you add him to that mix, they get Hawkinson back, a defense that is playing far above what you thought they would be. Man, that would be pretty amazing.
And Mr. Gritty.
What's that?
I said, and out there with Mr. Gritty.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I mean there's teams that can offer every bit of what KC could. So I don't think he goes to KC.
Yes. Love
James, what would you do? What would you do if KC gave you the draft picks where you could get a quarterback, maybe another nice receiver? What would you do? Would you say, no, I am not trading him to my rival.
If I'm the GM of KC, I'm doing everything possible that I can do to get him. First of all, your guy Rashee Rice just went down. He's likely out for the season. So you need somebody, and you needed somebody when you had him anyway.
Right.
Xavier Worthy it's a really good receiver, but he's a rookie. So and he's very little. So somebody that's going to be dominant, catching those third and longs. That's the guy, or taking the top off of defense. He's just pretty. He's an excellent receiver. Is he a diva? Yes, but you get that type of receiver though to add him to that mix. You're back in the mix. I mean, you're already undefeated right now, but to have somebody a sure thing with hands just out there, just a first down waiting to happen every time. It's just that guy. He doesn't really have that right now. I mean, looking at
what about the Saints though? Speak on your team.
Oh goodness, the Panthers fans are just a little too excited.
No, I just want you to be honest. Like, you guys already scored all the points you're going to score this season in your first 2 games. So,
oh my goodness, a reunion with Derek Carr, I would love. But the only problem is he's a 5-year, $140 million guy. He would have to trim that down in order for the Saints to even get him. There's no way. I don't think they even entertain that because it's too much. One, he's 31 years old. He's about to turn 32 in December. And that doesn't get well. He's on the wrong side of 30. I don't care what. He's not worth $140 million for 5 years at 31. So I would prefer that contract comes down. He's still good. He's still a very good receiver. And he would do well with Chris Olave. Man, with Chris Olave and the dude with Derek Carr, man, you would be hurt. I can see it already, sis. I already thought she checked out.
Sorry, I had to throw up a little bit on the side. I had to take a moment. Forgive me, guys.
Yes, you would be throwing. You be doing more than throwing up. You be hanging off the bed, the legends. If he came down there, but I doubt it. I doubt he comes down there.
I didn't realize.
But I think the KC, and also I saw some names thrown out there. They also threw out the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
teaming up with CeeDee Lamb would be a ridiculous threat. But that's out there. I'm not saying I would want that, but that's what's out there.
Bo just wants to say something. Matt, can you let Bo talk? Because James is getting delirious.
I'm just saying I didn't realize that I was supposed to be day drinking to do this show.
Yeah, and you're like several hours behind. So yes, it's lunchtime where you are.
You didn't get the memo? Is that what you're telling me, Bo? You didn't get the memo? Okay. But anyway.
I didn't know we were going to say Dallas was going to be awesome if they got a receiver.
Right? I said he's delirious.
Like, they don't play defense at all.
Right. And not only that, they had a hard enough time trying to sign the people they got over there. I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to take on that big contract. I doubt it. But, who knows?
They have this Parsons guy they want to sign.
Yes, they do. Why did Kansas City get Juju? What's his name? Schuster. I have no idea what. I don't have no idea. I don't know. I have no idea.
What are you talking about? That made total sense because your other option was your other option was Kadarius Toney, who couldn't catch a cold.
Yes. Okay, that's true. I agree with that part of it, but at least Kadarius Toney could return a punt every now and then. Juju can't catch anything, so I don't know what the hell that was all about. I think they were just panicking when they signed him, I think. But anyway, so we all kind of agree on that. Let's take the quick look at as I said, Detroit has beaten Houston. What a job the Mets did coming back to beat Milwaukee, who for some reason comes playoff time, I don't know what happens. It's like they can win the division by 30 games, and then when playoffs come, it's like kryptonite to these guys. They lose. San Diego went ahead and shut out Atlanta. Big game by their pitcher who had Michael King, who used to be a Yankee, who struck out 12 batters. Unbelievable performance by him, and also by I'm trying to get his name here real quick. Fernando Tatis with a big home run. So he's starting to come alive now too. Anybody here, we watched the Mets and the Braves both win, they just split for both of them to get in. Did anybody kind of think it was weird, the on-field celebration, like they're all hugging, they're celebrating together? I mean, if you're an Arizona Diamond fan, I'd be like, what the hell is this? It's like they planned it. It's like, we're kicking Arizona out. You win one game. Well, if you win the first game, we'll lose the second game. Is that any way to do the playoff? I mean, to do this?
Isn't that exactly what you wanted the Raiders and Chargers to do? Right? Everybody burned them for calling that timeout. I mean, they could have celebrated on the field together. It was the ultimate, like, little league. Everyone gets a juice box and an orange. Yay, everybody wins. Like, I mean, it was perfect.
It's almost akin to the NFL when Panthers fans living in Atlanta saw the Falcons and Saints game last Sunday. And, like, we kind of wanted both of them to just end in a tie because we don't really like either one, but because we live in one city over the other, we were just like, dang, New Orleans, really? But then we remembered they beat us down real bad. And we're like, yes, Atlanta, take care of business.
Wow. Okay. Well, they're just Sonia's just throwing darts at the.
Right. She's like, I hope everyone loses.
Yes.
I texted them in the group. There's a group chat. I texted him and Kevin from the fellas, and I was like, I just hope you guys could just both tie and be done. And they're like, no, sis. I was like, please. God. They almost did.
Sean's worried about his Orioles. Again, I don't know what's going on with the Orioles, Sean, because they were playing lights out for a while and they just fell off. I mean, they got a great offense. I really don't know what's going on with them. The Royals up one game and all they got to do is win one more. And, I thought the Orioles would be more of a substance in the playoffs this year. And he looked really good. I think it was Henderson, the shortstop. He was hitting the heck out of the ball. And I don't know what's going on with the Orioles either. It's like they're starting to fall apart. The Braves are. Go ahead,
I thought the Orioles were going to roll right through them because the Royals kind of backed into the playoffs. I thought they were just going to kind of fall apart. And, the Orioles are just like, nah, we can make you look good.
Jesus, yes, they could. Oh, man. Let's see. Some MLB news for you. Ohtani is the first player to go 50-50. And, of course, his jerseys were number one seller this year, followed by Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge. I mean, listen, Ohtani, I have a problem with him not playing the field and getting that most valuable player, but you can't deny this guy and earned it this year. What he didn't do in the field, he did around the bases. So he did everything he could while not playing in the field to win that this year. So a lot of credit to him, and maybe he'll be back next year pitching or playing a position or something. We'll see. But anyway, Judge, I guarantee you, he's got the MVP in the AL, and of course, those would be my two MVPs. I don't see anybody else getting in there. Bobby Witt had a pretty good year. Henderson did Henderson did for the Orioles for most of the year. So I mean, there are a couple others. I think even the Mets shortstop Lindor had a pretty good year too. But does anybody see anybody else that may have a chance at winning the MVPs this year?
I mean,
I'm with the same ones you mentioned, the first two.
Yeah.
Judge and Ohtani.
I feel the same way. There's such a comment I want to make about Ohtani, but I'm not going to say it. It's not.
Okay.
It's not a good comment, and I'm going to say it to y'all off the air. I'll probably just text it to y'all. No, I won't even text it because it could be used against me. I'm just going to verbally say it.
That's true because we do have the Ohtani police out there, and they are watching.
Yeah.
So,
like for the baseball.
Throw that allegedly before whatever you said.
Right, exactly. And the only thing that really ticks me off about Ohtani is I know he knows English, and he stands there and he waits for that interpreter.
Oh, here we go. Yes, thank you, Matt. That's what I'm there you go. You're doing it for me.
I know he knows English. He's been here since he was 17 years old.
What do we got?
He know how to count this English money. He know how to count the English money.
I mean, I know he knows English.
I mean, they're They're already over here taking over nail shops, hair weave.
Oh my God!
Now they're on the field. I'm just.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Wait a minute. Do you want me to remove all of you while she keeps talking? Because I don't know if that's a good idea. Wow.
I was
Anyway,
trying to be good, but you opened it up for me, Mac, and
I
I
was
just had
just
to.
talking about him. I was just talking about sitting there nodding and smiling before the interpreter actually asks him the question in Japanese. That's all I was saying. I mean, I know he
that's what I'm
knows that, but anyway. Okay, interesting. Okay,
Besides, if he's gonna do it, shouldn't he have DraftKings on the sleeve or something?
he should.
Like BetMGM?
It doesn't say DraftKings. It says Dohaya. Ha. That's what he got on
All
his
right.
Dohaya.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Well,
James,
it was fun being on
James,
the
you all
air
right?
anyway.
Yes, yes. It is. Wow. Anyway, let's get to the Monday night games that we did see. Tennessee beats Miami 31-10. Mainly Tony Pollard, the running game for the Titans, scored a couple touchdowns, a bunch of field goals were kicked by Tennessee. Of course, their starting quarterback, Levitz, was hurt. His shoulder was hurt. He looks like he wanted to go and play. I think he's a little nervous that maybe if the backup quarterback comes in there and plays again and has a good game, maybe it starts looking like he's not going to play this year. I don't know. It's early. It's 4 games. They're 1-3. I mean, we don't know by week 8 who's really, really good and who's whatever. It's going to take a while, especially this year, I think, because we didn't think the Commanders were going to be really good. We didn't think the Minnesota Vikings will be as good as they are. I mean, I can go on and on. So, what do you guys think? I mean, does Mason Rudolph have a chance? He went there to compete for the starting job. Bo, does he have a chance to take this away from him?
I mean, you'd hope so, but I mean, realistically, no, right? I mean, they need to play him to know what they have, because now you're a couple years into this. Like, you need him to start. You need to know if he's your guy moving forward or not, right? And if he's not, then you need him to be bad enough that you can get somebody else. So having Mason in there as a backup, is he a competent backup? Sure, but you're not winning anything with him. He had a better team with the Steelers. So no, I mean, you start him as much as you can start him so that you have a big enough, sample size to know if he's your guy or not.
Yeah, James, I mean, they would have to probably decide whether they're going to draft another quarterback. And in fact, if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I draft another quarterback anyway.
Yeah, if you go with Mason Rudolph, you're making either a lateral move or slightly backwards. You're not going forward with Mason. He's again a competent backup, but I mean, look at the numbers, man. I mean, what he was the 14. Excuse me, he had like 85 yards passing. I mean, they were running the ball. They ran the ball successfully against the Miami Dolphins, but at this juncture, these two teams are really not. They're not competing for anything. It just they look like, man, they're just not that good. And it starts with the quarterback. And unfortunately for Miami, they just lost their quarterback to injury.
Yeah.
So, and that's their situation. But here, man, Will Levis is he's pretty bad. I don't like. He's just bad, man. It's just wow. I mean, he's an interception machine, but I think a lot of it's just bad decisions and bad mechanics. And they should. I agree with you. They should draft a quarterback.
Yeah, he keeps doing the same thing, even though he says he doesn't want to do it. He keeps doing it. And another thing that I want to mention about Miami here is Tua wants to play. Now, I think when he's ready, whether it's game 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever, he's going to play. They're not going to stop him from playing, because they would have got a quarterback, a decent backup or a decent quarterback. They would have went and got already. So I have the feeling he's playing. If you're the owner / coach / GM, do you sit him down and say, listen, man, the year's gone, relax for the year. Take it easy. We're paying you. Don't worry about it. Come back next year. Come back ready.
I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes you have to strike while the iron is hot. And if he has the mental fortitude and he's saying, hey, I got this, you have to let him make that decision for himself, because even though there's team doctors and the experts and all this analysis that they look at, I think they even put in AI predictors now to see the propensity people have to bounce back from injuries. I think at the end of the day, you have to let this man just stand on his own. And, hopefully he's making a good decision for himself, especially if he has the desire, because my fear would be, okay, he really is physically able to come back. and you're saying, well, that's okay. And then you tank your entire season. Trust me, at some point, you're going to mess with the morale. And even though people don't really talk about the morale a whole lot from a quarterback perspective, with injuries, that is a big thing. And the team is only as strong as their leader. So the fact that they're waiting on him, if he wants to come back, I say go all in while the iron is hot, because what you don't want to do is say he is not ready. He really is. And then next year you get a whole different Tua, and you really are wishing like, wow, I wish we had given him an opportunity, because Father Time is still ticking on, like we always say.
Well, that's a fair point. But really, the problem with the Dolphins may be just more their defense than their offense. I mean, they're just giving up points like crazy right now. And they say the offense is too complex for other quarterbacks. And listen, I don't think Tua is a genius by any imagination. He's just been working with this offensive coordinator for a long time, and he knows the playbooks. What can they do in Miami to straighten out that defense? I think that's a huge problem, even with Tua there.
I mean, of course it is, but they have 90% of their payroll on 5 guys.
It's true.
So there's only so much you can do. They spend all their money on the offensive side of the ball. So they are set up to be in track meets every week. If all of a sudden one of your horses goes down, your defense doesn't get better. You're still on the hook for that cap hit. So, I mean, there's honestly not a lot they can do. Adding a guy like Odell didn't make sense when you could have used the $8 million there to help that defense.
Agreed.
That you lost 2 key pieces of a defense that already wasn't good from last year.
Agreed.
So they just did some things that didn't really make sense. And then the lack of preparation for a guy under center that has had one good year since college. Like, he wasn't healthy in college. So for you to not have a plan behind a guy that has routinely been injured made absolutely no sense. And unfortunately, they built their team in a way that they can't really have an answer for it.
Yeah, they got Odell is now well. Okay, it's like, well, we'll give him some money. That's how he's going from team to team, just being well. Like, who?
Yes.
Just change your name from Odell. It's well.
No, he's
Out there with dollars.
Yes.
I didn't understand that signing. I didn't understand anybody that wanted to sign him. I mean, a third receiver. Come on. Lions against your Seattle Seahawks, Bo. Listen, Bo, when you got a guy that goes 18 for 18 with 2 touchdowns, he catches a touchdown. You got a wide receiver that catches a touchdown and throws a touchdown. I think what happened here was that the Lions got off way too fast for you guys. They ran the ball really well in the beginning. And Seattle tried to mount a comeback. But when you get that far behind, it makes it a lot easier to defend. Walker had a great game for you guys. Also, he looked good running the ball. And Geno didn't look bad either. It's just, again, they got out too fast. If they didn't get out to that fast start, maybe you guys had a shot at them.
So probably not. And the reason for that is notable guys that missed this game on defense, right? And this is a defense that didn't stop the run particularly well with everybody healthy. You have 3 starting linebackers that didn't start. You had Mafe, Nwosu, and Baker. All missed the game. Then you have defensive linemen of Williams and Murphy. Both didn't start. You lose Julian Love, your main safety.
That's true.
At halftime. Like, you had nothing you were going to stop in the middle anyway. I mean, because they struggle against, think about how the Patriots ran against them when everybody was healthy. That's not a good team. They have a solid defense, but the team isn't good. They ran for, 170 yards or something. So, it was a known problem for this Hawks defense anyway. And then to lose 5 starters in the middle, I feel like anybody could have ran. And the fact that they kept the game close actually says a lot about the team not giving up, because this is a team that could have crumbled right away, especially after DK fumbled and they gave him an easy score off of that. This game could have got out of hand, but there was just no quit, whether it was on the offense or the guys that were backing up. Like, everybody came to play. They just didn't have enough to answer to the Lions that, again, was a game away from the Super Bowl last year.
Any word on when they'll be back, Bo? All your injured guys there? Because I'm thinking ahead of time for Sunday. You know what I mean? I want to know just a little inside information. As being a Giant fan, you know, I'm interested.
Yeah, so there's not as of yet, but the way that they were able to still hang around with the Lions, I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Bo, I never get my hopes up. Don't worry about that. I mean, I'm just looking for a little inside information. That's all. So, you know,
it's too early in the
listen.
week.
Yes,
It's too early in the week.
I agree. So let's talk a little bit, and this is brought to you by BetUS or Bet Us, however you want to say it. 30 years, this company's been around, and it safeguards all your bets. And, you know, listen, one of the best sites to place a bet, you can bet on anything. Baseball, basketball, football, college, whatever it is. Any games upcoming tomorrow night, we got a pretty big game. You know, we have the Bucks who just whooped some Eagles, took some tar and feathers and just choked them out. And anyway, I don't want to keep going on. I just love that the Eagles got their, advantage to them. Again. You know, so they're going to go and they're going to.
He's just fishing for Pags to be watching.
I'm hoping. Anyway, listen, Atlanta hasn't looked as good as I thought they would in the beginning of the year. Tampa Bay is always overlooked every year, it seems. Listen, Baker looks better than he has in the last couple of years. He looks more comfortable. The offense is kind of chugging. The defense is pretty good. And the Falcons, I'm not saying it was a mistake to get Kirk Cousins, but I don't think Kirk Cousins is what they thought he was. They gave him a lot of money as a franchise quarterback. Kirk Cousins is a very good regular season quarterback, but he's struggling now. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe it's going to take time. I don't know. But listen, it's going to be a rough going for Atlanta.
I don't think Atlanta didn't score any touchdowns. Like, that game was touchdownless. Young Wei too has to be in therapy with his right thigh right as we speak because of all the field goals he had to kick. And let's give him accolades. 58-yarder, Young Wei out of the way. Koo got that 58-yarder to annihilate that Saints by 2 tiny points. And I couldn't believe they never scored a touchdown, Mac.
Yeah. I mean, they got the weapons, James. I mean, they got a tight end that hasn't done anything yet. They got a running back who's good some games, not so good other games. They got a couple decent receivers over there. What's going on with the Saints? I mean, the
Saints? The Falcons.
Sorry.
The Falcons, yeah. I mean, Kyle Pitts is like armpits. He stinks. I mean, he's just not good right now.
Good analysis. Way to study my notes, brother. Way to study my notes.
He's bad, man. I mean, I don't know. He was hyped out of college, coming out of Florida. He was excellent, but he just, for some reason, he's just not finding his way. Even before, even with this guy right now, with Kirk Cousins has 864 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions versus Baker Mayfield, 84 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. One guy seems to be more accurate and cool under pressure. And I don't know, maybe the injury, he's just not ready right now with that. He's a little shaken probably. And he's not as accurate as Kirk Cousins has always been known as a very accurate quarterback in the regular season.
It's
just not showing itself right now. So, and defensively, the Falcons they're not that great up front. I mean, they might have missed out by picking up on Michael Penix Jr. versus taking a defensive player at the number 8 overall. It hadn't helped their defensive line. They got Matthew Judon, but he's okay there. He's not showing much exactly yet. But we'll see as time goes along. Maybe they pick it up because they have the weapons. They have Drake London. They have Bijan Robinson. And they got Mr. Stinky Pitts. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes from there.
I mean, at the same time, though, you have the Bucks that it's Baker, and sometimes he's out there doing his thing, and sometimes he's more like Chef Boyardee, he's SpaghettiOs. It's nothing you actually want to eat. So I mean, I don't put a
He
lot of
ain't
trust in
baking.
Baker.
He's burning. He ain't baking.
Listen,
He's burning.
what's wrong with SpaghettiOs? I love SpaghettiOs.
I love ravioli.
I
I got something in my pantry.
No,
but
see,
anyway,
that makes total
Oh,
sense. You're a
spaghetti.
Giants fan. You're used to SpaghettiOs.
listen, I come from the board side of town, Bo. Sometimes that's all we had to eat.
Okay, that's all we had. Ravioli, spaghetti.
A Sterno can and some SpaghettiOs. Here we
Hey,
go.
listen, some ramen noodles, and you got
Yes.
yes, ramen noodles, and you got a party. But Bo, you know,
But as Bo is saying, sometimes you have to come up out of SpaghettiOs. You ate SpaghettiOs at one time, but no more. You gotta go.
They're only saying that because they don't want a couple of games now. We know the Saints have now hit their losing stride, so Sunday was just the beginning for them. Don't let him say nothing about those SpaghettiOs, man.
Here's this Panthers fan coming again. She's excited about her one win.
Gumbo, but everybody can't have gumbo like Saints fans, okay?
and James, you said they made a mistake in getting Penix. Well, maybe they didn't. Maybe Kirk Cousins is really hurt, and maybe he gets hurt more, and maybe they'll be happy they got a Penix Jr. to come in and play some quarterback.
Did you really?
Yes, but it's $140 or $60. I mean, excuse me, $160, $160 million decision, or maybe. I mean, that's you're stuck with that amount of money you're paying a guy that's guaranteed 120 million guaranteed.
Well, how many people have been injured that are right now that aren't playing well, that are getting, $150, $200, $300 million over their contract?
Yeah.
I wish I could have suited up as him and just got my money. God.
Did you really think he was going to come out just killing it? I mean, he had no preseason on a new team. Like,
I didn't think so.
Yeah, none of the South played their starters. I don't think. I know we didn't, but I mean,
No, but he didn't even get to do anything in preseason. He was still recovering, so he didn't even get to do any of the preseason workouts. This is all first reps for Cousins. So, is he going to be sharp? No, of course not. New team, new coaches, and coming off of an injury for a guy that hasn't really had to come back from injuries over his career. Right?
But Bo, he's also an experienced quarterback. He's not a young quarterback that needs to take time to learn things. He's been around the league. He can put together things and maybe at least throw a touchdown here or there. I mean, listen, I get it.
With that, but
you're
timing
right.
is a real thing.
That's true. That's true. But again, I mean, he's not one of these fly-by-night second string quarterbacks. He leads the game manager. This is what the guy is. Let's be honest.
No,
but he's
I don't dispute that at all. Like he is the best regular season before 7 p.m. guy you could have.
Exactly.
If he's got a rush to
another primetime game coming up. They playing tomorrow night. They got all these primetime games because everybody wants to be stacking behind Kirk Cousins.
So anyway, who you guys taking? Who you guys taking? Who you guys taking? Who are you going with? Atlanta is giving a 1.5 up to the Bucs. So the Bucs plus 1.5 going into Atlanta. Who do you got, Sonia?
They've got the Bucs favorite by 1.5. You're saying?
No, they're getting a 1.5.
So they said Atlanta's gonna win. Yeah. Oh, and this game, where is this game at? I'm sorry,
Atlanta,
I don't remember.
Atlanta.
Thursday night. I'm gonna go with Tampa on this one because Atlanta just played and they barely eked that one out.
What do you think there, James?
I got the Bucs plus 1.5. I have to agree with Sonia. I mean, I just didn't see much from Atlanta. The Saints, even though they lost the game, they lost the game. They allowed themselves. The Atlanta didn't score an offensive touchdown. You got a punt that you gave a punt away. It's just a fly pop up in the air, run back a touchdown. I mean, man, it just wasn't good. They were stopped. I think Tampa Bay will stop them and shut them down in their hometown.
Tampa. Let me set you up. Tampa Bay's coming in a short week. They played a big game against Philly. They got a big win. Does Baker Mayfield go back to Baker Mayfield for this one game in Atlanta, in a dome, not outside, not in the heat?
The Benz. We ain't got the dome no more down here.
Baker, do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning that way, right? It's a primetime game. I never trust Cousins in that. I always like the argument you were making, though, that, the Saints snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory, right? Like you guys were just actively trying to lose. But yeah, no, I got Baker and company doing this. It doesn't seem like a SpaghettiO night. I think they have enough things going for them.
You better go to bed early tonight if they don't play.
Well,
And they got all these back-to-back primetime games. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, we're sick of seeing y'all every week. You got a primetime game. Sit your ass down.
Just to be opposite, y'all, I'll take Atlanta and SpaghettiOs on Thursday night. So that's what I'm taking. The Jet fans are all over Coach Salah, right? He can't coach. He stinks. He doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. The Jets defense, since he's been here, which is what he is, he's a defensive head coach, has been good, has been real good, has been top 5 sometimes. I thought Rodgers in his cohort there, the guy he brought in, was supposed to take care of the offense, right? We watched him say to Salah, I gave you your 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The Jets defense played well enough to beat the Broncos. So whose fault is it? Is it Salah's fault for allowing this offense to go unchecked by him? Or is it Rodgers and Hackett's fault and not Salah and not Salah's fault at all? What do you think?
Can I please go first? The only thing I want to say is this don't have nothing to really do with the defense or the offense. The problem is King Aaron Rodgers and his followers have gotten into the head of these Jet fans like he does, and everywhere he goes. I mean, he could go to the Raiders and it'd be the same thing. He has his own version of the Swifties that follow him. He can do no wrong. So the fact that they're complaining now against Salah, these are just Rodgerites. This is all it is. Rodgerites. And they're just Rodgerites.
All right, Rodgerites. Okay,
that's all it is, man. That's all it is.
Okay. All right. James, you agree with that?
Let's just say the long answer or the short answer, it's on the coach. I mean, it's always going to be on the coach. But the long answer, their offensive line was bad. I mean, Rodgers got sacked, 5 times, I think? And he looked pretty beat up, man. And his age is a part of that, too. He can't do what he used to do. Hello, little puppy. I think that ultimately you're the coach. Somebody's got to take the blame. It's going to be the coach, the head coach. But it typically is the offense. The offense is the problem. The game plan from Hackett. And I'm starting to believe what Coach Sean Payton said about Hackett was just true. He's not a good coach, offensive coordinator. And I just think, I blame the offense, but somebody's got the head coach has got to take the blame, man. It's on him.
Bo, it seems to me Salah is almost in awe of Aaron. I mean, when he made that run, he's like all excited and smiling and happy, and he's ready to hug him. I mean, it's a very much an over affection kind of thing with Aaron Rodgers. It's like he's in awe of this guy. I don't think that's healthy for a head coach to do that. He's got to be able to come down on Rodgers also if he's messing up. I don't know if Salah could do that.
No. He definitely has a fanboy approach, it looks like, from the outside. You can make a similar argument to the Cousins thing, though. He also, coming off an Achilles, didn't do anything in preseason, right? He did no preseason games. He did practice a little bit, but not a lot. And when you're looking at some of these catches that should be catches that have been drops, you're looking at guys that he didn't build a rhythm with in the preseason because he didn't play, right? And Rodgers isn't one of those guys that adds touch to a throw. So he's throwing you a rocket, whether you're 40 yards downfield or 10 yards downfield. So Garrett Wilson, prime example, stud receiver, doesn't really drop stuff. If you look over his career, has dropped a ton of balls from Rodgers, and it's because he's throwing a rocket that's 10 yards away that he's used to getting from somebody like 40 yards down the field. So do I think that's something that ultimately gets better as the year goes on? Sure. Yeah. As they work together more. That falls solidly on Rodgers because he doesn't like to necessarily work out in the preseason. That's just a recorded thing since he was with the Packers. Yeah. And people thinking he was going to be the MVP caliber guy, I didn't really get anyway. His last year with the Packers wasn't great. Then he misses a year with an Achilles. How many things have you guys done that you got better at not doing for years?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's true, but maybe if he stays out of Egypt next year, maybe they have a chance at doing something. Folks, that's it for the show tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you again next week on the National Professional Sports Show. And of course, me, Sonia, James, and Bo all have our shows that we do. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you had a great one. Enjoy your